All right. It looks like we are good to go.
Good stuff.
Wait, whoops. So what a crazy day to start the World Championships.
A lot of close games, like 4 close games, actually. Really, like even Finland, Belarus was close till the end, and you'd think that would be a blowout, right?
Well, see, I said before the tournament, I said, you know what, Finland is not a good team, and I think that's clear.
Right.
That was right off the bat. It was clear Belarus wanted to win that game. I considering, again, like on paper, you would think this is Finland. You know, they got some NHL guys, but let's also not forget that in the recent years, Belarus has actually played really well because they got one guy, their goalie specifically. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Kevin Lalonde, I think.
Yeah, Kevin Lalonde. Like Kevin Lalonde is a great player, and he's what we saw at Belarus is kind of what I expect to see at Belarus kind of the rest of the tournament. Just could be really tough to beat. They're going to be really tough to handle. And again, they go out and they win that game. And not the way the Finns want to start, but at the same time, they let's not forget Jesse Pulveri did not play in today's game. That was a coach's decision. So overall.
That's interesting that he's not playing. I don't know if there's injuries there from the season. I don't know if there was anything like that. But I am interested in the fact that he wasn't playing. In terms of Belarus, like you have your like typical Belarusian staples. You have the Kostitsins, right? You have Lalonde in net, where he's been for 2 or 3 years now.
Yep.
But that's not even who was scoring today. Like their 2 goals were scored by a guy who's like 19 years old in Sharangovich, who had that shot. And then you had Kavirshin, which goal was it that just bounced over the net and he potted it in? I think that was the second goal. And it was just like the puck was behind the net. He misplayed it. Was it Korpisalo that was in net, I think? Misplayed it. Korpisalo misplays it. And then he just kind of bounces over the net somehow, and he just swats it down, smacks it in, right? So, like, they're a good team, and they kept up in terms of shots, but they also, like, they did have to get some lucky bounces to even stay in that game. Like, I do still think and it's not going to be like a dramatic thing to say, like, still think Finland's a better team than Belarus and probably better than they played today. Just getting warmed up, not having Puljujarvi, and also like missing some players that like I think they would like to have.
Yeah, and definitely. Like that was definitely not Finland's best team. That's definitely not Finland's best effort. It's gonna be interesting. Do you know who they're playing tomorrow or they're starting this weekend?
Finland this weekend is playing against, I believe, is it? Oh my gosh, I'm gonna blank on it. I'll check.
They're playing France. They're playing France with Cristobal Huet.
Oh, they're playing France.
Yeah, so this is a big big tournament for France, and I guess we'll talk about them later in this tournament because I definitely want you on more. I'll tell you that. But Sweden, wow, that was a great game. That was fantastic.
Yeah, you know what that was? I mean, like I may spend a couple minutes ranting about the IIHF not staggering games better in terms of broadcast because I wish I could have watched. You know, there was gaps in there. There was an hour gap in between the games starting because they were starting at the exact same time. So when I was watching Sweden and Russia, I was focusing on Finland and Belarus and watching that game. And Sweden and Russia was kind of on in the background there.
Yeah.
Which I think is the opposite of what a lot of people will do. But like Sweden, Russia, no matter what, there's not going to be an upset there. I like to watch upsets. There's a chance Belarus will upset Finland. Mm-hmm. Watch that game. And I also have a soft spot for Belarus because of Grabowski, who's not playing right there, obviously right now, but.
Yeah, so the Finnish team, like that was a team, or that's not the Finnish, the Russian team. They started off slow, and they're for sure not going to be getting Ovechkin, which I think kind of is a blow. And at the same time, some of the Russian fans are actually okay with that. And
they're holding on to a couple. They got 3 free roster spots still now, and they didn't play. I forget Nichushkin today, just out of the chance that they will get Ovechkin if the Caps drop a game tonight or tomorrow, I believe is when they play. If they drop that game and they're out, like there's a chance they might get Ovechkin, I think.
Well, so the Russian Federation said that Ovechkin is not coming.
Oh, did they straight up come and say that? Okay, I had heard otherwise. I had seen otherwise on Twitter, but that's I imagine they're disappointed about that.
Yeah. Like Russia hasn't really done well in a lot of these tournaments. They won a couple years ago with Ovechkin, and Ovi always seems to care about this tournament. But at the same time, I've heard people say, you know what, losing kind of just follows him around, and. I don't like to say it's his fault, clearly, but at the same time, like,
but it is this like lack of I don't want to say like clutchness, but like there's something there. There's something. I don't know if it's quantifiable. There's something there where he whether it's his fault or not, and I don't think it is. I think he's incredible. He's a top 3 player on the planet, if not maybe top 5. But like he just doesn't have a history of winning these things, and doesn't look like he's about to start. And like I'm not going to say maybe they're better off without him, but you know, sometimes there's those players who just have those so much attention around them and so much drama around them, and it's actually can be like a detriment.
Yep. So exactly, 100%. But yeah, overall, like it was a goaltending game today, and Victor Fast was incredible for Sweden. You know, former Oiler, former Duck. The other end, Vasilevsky was again fantastic for Russia. That was an incredible game. We got to kind of see 3-on-3 on the big ice, which we didn't get to see at the World Juniors, a smaller ice. But this was our first, I think, real chance we get to see the 3-on-3 on the big ice, and that was entertaining.
That was incredible. That was probably the best 3-on-3 overtime I've seen. And all the ones that we've seen in the NHL and then beyond. And honestly, it just like, and I know this isn't something that's going to happen. It's been discussed, but it just makes me wish that everybody played on Euro ice even more, because the space that they have, I mean, that will never happen because that would require widening the ice, and then you lose your like closest seats to the freaking thing, and then the teams make less money, and it's what's the benefit really? But just in terms of the gameplay, like 3-on-3 on Euro ice is like, it's wildly. I wish that could never end. I wish we didn't have to deal with shootouts, because that was incredible, especially on the international stage when people are playing for their country. I mean, it's one thing to play for a pro team and to have this 3-on-3 on like a normal sized ice like we do in the NHL, but it's really something to watch, especially so many great skaters, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like I love the big ice. I've always been a big fan of the big ice, and that's I tweeted out a couple of years ago. People thought it'd be stupid. This is before 3-on-3 overtime was a thing. I said, watch it. 3-on-3 on the big ice would be so much more fun than any hockey you've ever seen, and it's true. Like there is a professional 3-on-3 league in the GTA here in Canada. The problem is it's just a bunch of beer league guys essentially. Some guys that used to play in the NHL. Like I'm not going to go out and say, oh, you know, Brett McLean and Theo Peckham are the guys I really want to watch playing hockey. But
I really want to watch Theo Peckham.
Yeah, but hey, Rich Pepperly was drafted in this league, so was John Scott. So it's good, like 3-on-3 professional hockey league. I just want to say that my phone has been buzzing literally the last 2 hours ever since Radko Gudas decided to punch Claude Giroux. I'm now getting people tweeting saying, "Hey, these guys stole this clip from Stephen Ellis NHL. Follow him for hockey." And I'm just saying, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I also didn't create this clip. That happened to be TSN broadcast. This is a double HF broadcast, TSN broadcast. I just made a little clip. I've never liked making GIFs. I always thought, you know what, they're low quality and the frame rate's not great, and you can't put that that long of a clip on Twitter. And I started making video clips, and it's much faster and like the quality's better. And
it's higher quality. To talk about that punch, that was. I mean, I don't like Radko Gudas, and I never have. And I believe it started in like the 2011 Calder Cup finals when it was like Norfolk versus the Marlies, and like, and I could be getting the dates and the teams and the round all wrong on that. But Radko Gudas was a pain in the ass when he was in the AHL, and he's been a pain in the ass in the NHL. I think, I mean, like there's a line there where like maybe you don't punch your teammate in the face. I don't know if he doesn't see that it's Giroux. I don't know if he doesn't see that it's somebody who's like plays for the same pro team as him, but like maybe don't punch anyone in the face, like to start with, because that's a shitty thing to do, like sucker punch people. But like more than that, like don't punch Claude Giroux, your NHL teammate, in the face. That's stupid. That's what stupid people do. That's dumb.
You got to wonder if that stems from something in the past. But again, we don't really know. We'll never know. But yeah, that was funny. We'll see if Gudas lands.
Well, it's interesting because he's like Gudas is there next year. He's with the Flyers next year. Like it's not like I don't believe his contract's up, and I don't believe Giroux's is. So they're both going to be there. And like in what world is this going to be? Like if that gets any worse, if he punches Giroux in the face there and Giroux hits his head on the ice and he's out for 4 months, right? Like. What's the environment there? You do have to think about that, and it's hard to think about it in this split-second moment. But starting with a mentality of I'm just not going to punch anyone in the face for no reason would be a good start. And not to mention that Gudas is, you know, it's kind of his rep to be pretty aggressive. But when you're on the international stage, you're with your teammates who play against you on this stage. You got to be careful, and it wasn't a smart move. It wasn't the dirtiest play of the game of the day, but it was close to.
Yeah, exactly. And if you guys haven't seen the tweet yet, if you don't know or the clip, If you don't know what we're talking about, what happened, it was probably one of the highlights of this tournament already. And it was, Gudas punching Claude Giroux in the face. You could check my Twitter. It's got 653 retweets, 759 likes, and you could also probably find the tweet on Yahoo's website, CBS, The Score, and a bunch of other people. So it's all over the place. But yeah, overall, I think Canada, that was a good showing for Canada. And Canada did not dominate this game, even though they won 4-1 here and they beat Switzerland 4-1 in a pre-tournament game. They haven't dominated the games. So that shows, the tournament is looking good in terms of
parity.
In terms of, and parity for sure. But Canada's still playing really well. The one issue, though, is their defense, and their goaltending made up for it a lot tonight. And Tyson Barrie definitely was one of Canada's better players. He actually got 2 points, but he also made a lot of mistakes himself. The team itself just struggled in their own zone. Vlasic, I completely forgot he was on the team until the end.
I forgot that Vlasic and Demers, I'll come out and say it, weren't as impressive as I thought as a pairing. You hear those two names. Mm-hmm. Those are guys that I believe have played together before. I believe they're both Jose Sharks up until Demers was a Florida Panther this year or last year. I've been sketchy on the NHL lately, but for guys that play together outside of the international play who are on Team Canada, there's a certain reputation there to uphold. They didn't play as well as they could have, I thought. I think, though, I don't want to give too much bad credit to Canada because I think the Czechs are going to be awfully underrated for this entire tournament, and probably and certainly undeservedly, given that it's underrated. That they have a brilliant forward core, and they're still missing David Krejci, who's on his way apparently, but they have a brilliant forward core outside of that. Between, I believe they have Jacob Vrana there. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but they have Roman Horak, plenty of others. I'm trying to find the tweet where I was actually listing off who they had, but they have a very, very talented forward group that probably is a top 3 forward group in the league in terms of, your top 6 players on your league, those guys who are going to be putting up 18 to 21 minutes every game in the group stage and probably beyond for the Czechs. I wouldn't blame Canada's defense that much. I think the Czechs are underrated.
Yeah, they get 100%. The Czechs, I think they're going to be a better team in a few days when they get their full roster together. The concerns I have with that team is, there is a lack of NHL players. But at the same time, their second line was fantastic. I didn't really notice much of Plakanich. I thought Pasternak actually made a couple of mistakes in this game. But Voracek, Kovar, and Radil, oh my gosh, that line was...
Yeah, what the thing with, I'm currently in my Magnitka jersey. It's a Victor Antipin jersey, so it's not a Yankovac jersey. But outside of that, one missed net, he looked phenomenal today. First line guy, the guy I'd keep on the first line for the next game.
Is that Kovar?
Yep. Yeah, Kovar, whatever. He did look very, very good today. And that's something that'll probably carry on, I imagine. He's a very talented player. I believe he was the top scorer in the KHL playoffs this year for Magnitka, if not over the entire field. Despite the fact that we got almost swept basically in the finals there against the stacked St. Petersburg team. But he's very talented, and he'll be good. And I think a lot of people look at these rosters and say, "Oh, how many players are from the NHL?" But there's a lot of talented players on the Czech team, and especially on the Russian team. Now you look at guys who are just coming to the NHL, like Stepachov, who just signed with Vegas. A lot of players who aren't in the NHL show up at these tournaments and perform. Yeah,
the one thing I pointed out to somebody yesterday, I was saying, okay, so Finland's got some NHL players, and I was saying, they're more on France's compete level this term. And people are like, oh, France, they have no NHL players. Finland's got a couple, shouldn't that make them better? No, because Finland for the last couple months have been playing together at the Euro hockey tournament and in practices, so they stick together. All of a sudden, you throw a couple of NHL players, and you're disrupting the lines. One line that may be good, you're not going to go out there and say, okay, Sebastian, how you're playing fourth line because our first line in the Euro hockey tour played pretty well. Finland did struggle at the Euro hockey tour. They actually came down last, but still, overall, they kept. Actually, no, I believe that was Sweden came down last. My mistake. But you look at Finland, and you put the NHL guys in there at random points. Again, they're great players, and I think they make the team better. But what matters is the chemistry, especially early in this tournament when the teams are all forming together. Like Canada, they just got put together. The Americans just got put together. They only had one pre-tournament game each compared to some of these teams that have had multiple. Like Slovenia, I believe, had 4. So you look at that and say, okay, that's good. If the smaller, maybe weaker teams on paper all of a sudden surprise, it's not necessarily a surprise. That's, I think, why Belarus did such a good job today, because these guys have played together in a lot of pre-tournament games. Yeah. And their roster also doesn't change much year to year. You still got the same guys leading every team. You always know Kevin Lalonde's the guy.
And it's always half the roster of Dynamo Minsk.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the same way that I'm not Slovenia. It's like the same way that like Slovakia's World Juniors team is always just all the players from HK Orange, which is like, for those who don't know, Slovakia's version of the U.S. National Team Development Program. Slovakia has HK Orange. Anytime you see Slovakia in the juniors, the roster is almost like 80%.
Yeah.
HK Orange. And that's the situation that we have with Belarus in the World Championships. A lot of HC Dynamo Minsk players, and they show it. They show that they have that chemistry. One thing I want to touch on quickly, though, is we were talking about parity, just briefly. And I think what we do need to take into account is, obviously it's day one, we don't know yet. But I think I was thinking about this earlier. We saw 8 teams play today. We probably saw the 7 best teams in the tournament and Belarus. It's undeniable that the last 10 years, the top 6 teams in the tournament have been Canada, USA, Russia, Sweden, Finland, and the Czechs in no particular order.
Yep. And
then we saw, you see your Germanys, your Slovakias, your I had it in tip of my tongue, like Denmark, your Germany, your Slovakia, your Denmark, your Switzerland. They're in that like 8 to 11 spot, 8 to 12 spot, but we probably saw the 7 best teams in the tournament. And I think when we get to those games that are like, who's gonna win? Blank, insert top 6 team, or Italy, we might see more of those. Oh no, it's 8-0 in the middle of the second period. So I don't want to call out that this is improved parity yet, but it certainly looked like it today.
Yeah, true. And tomorrow I specifically picked Norway versus France as my one game. There's 6 games tomorrow. I'm only covering 1, but right now, I picked Norway versus France, and I wanted that one because those are 2 teams that, again, stick together a lot. Their rosters are relatively the same each year. Both teams have gotten some of their star players back. Stefan da Costa for France and Patrick Thoresen for Norway. Both were back in the tournament after taking a year off. That's going to be a fun matchup too. Yeah, I do want to talk about the game that just wrapped up with Canada, and that's USA versus Germany. Now, we're talking about parity. Germany goes out and wins. Well, what the heck? This is shocking. This is huge. This is an underdog. On paper, again, yes, it's an underdog. Germany, though, just like in 2010, where they made it to, I want to say they made it to the quarter or the semifinals. Dennis Andros was the great goalie. This year, Germany, Dennis Andros and Timo Pelmier, 2 of the goalies that have been their star goalies the last couple of years, didn't even make the team. They went to camp, did not make it. Most of it is because of Thomas Greiss. And that's how good Germany's goaltending is. Thomas Greiss had an incredible performance against the Americans today. He was basically the wall throughout the whole game. He allowed just 1 goal, and Germany wins 2-1. Now, again, shocking, but Germany also beat the Americans last year 3-2, and had a better tournament than the Americans.
We were talking about before we even came on the air that this is shocking. And the last time before last year that the Germans beat the U.S. was 1993, I think you said. This happened last year, and you're going to always see upsets at the World Championships. It's funny, it happened on day 1. It's hilarious to me as a Canadian living near the border that it happened to the United States. It was freaking hilarious. I apologize to our American viewers, but there is a little bit of that, just like, I don't really want you to win any games. So every little win counts. And if we can see another second year in a row where Germany finishes 3rd in a group and the States finishes 4th, I would it makes me happy. It's funny.
And again, Germany could do it. Now they don't have Marcel Gottsch, which is big, and Alex Sulzer actually retired from national team duty, which was a little surprising.
Their forward group when I was looking at the roster at the start, their forward group looked a little sparse. I recognize a couple names like Freddie Tiffels, among some others guys, but it does look sparse. You don't see those normal names.
Yeah, and it's, again, Germany's team, they're going to put in a better effort this year. And overall, I think they got decent depth. They are missing a couple of their better players, like Typhus was saying. And again, losing Marcel Gottsch, who is undeniably one of the best players on Germany. And then on defense, losing Alex Sulzer just because he has retired from international play, which is kind of also why we don't see Leo Komarov playing for Finland this year, this is a tournament he loves. He loves this tournament, but he's not playing.
He would love to be here, but he's done with it.
He's simply had enough with it, and I don't blame him. He did a lot of work with the team, and his focus was to continue playing at this point of the year. So, and based on the way the Capitals playing, they probably should be still there. But one other thing I want to say, I was extremely impressed. Let's go back to Canada. Speaking of Leafs, Mitch Marner, one of the best performers of the day, I think by far. Him with Travis Konechny was fantastic, and who was the third guy in that line? That
Braden Point. That was the line where the combined age was 61 with all 3 players.
Yeah. So. when Sean Couturier was a game time decision, it was like, okay, well, who's going to be replaced? Looked at one point, it could have been Alex Killorn, and then the other guys were either Braden Point or Rich Werner. I don't think you take out anybody in that lineup right there.
No, I don't even think so. No, I think you're looking at a scenario where you got this young line of young guys. They pretty much functioned, it seemed like, as the fourth line, but they functioned in like a burst offense way where it was get on there for 20, 25 seconds, put your all into getting that puck in the offensive zone, couple passes, get it to the net, and then change. And it worked really well for the Russians as well today. They had some lines that were pretty much just set to 25, 30-second shift, get on there, push hard. Don't worry about sustained pressure. Just get pucks to the net and get a face-off, if not a goal. And it worked well for the Canadian line today for Marner, Point, and Konecny. I think I wouldn't change a thing. I'm trying to recall who Canada's next opponent is, though.
Canada's playing Slovenia at 6:15 in the morning on Sunday. I will be awake.
Lovely. I won't. I don't think. I'm surprised they have a Canada game on that early because they tend to schedule it so that Canada plays those.
Yeah,
Canada, but there's only so much you can do.
I believe part of that reason is due to France's schedule, and it's
right.
So France plays Finland, and they only get the afternoon game. So they actually based on it makes sense. Oh, like let's put Canada in the better viewing time in Canada.
TSN was making the schedule, right?
Yeah, but the Norway versus Switzerland game is probably going to be the least attended game in France that day, and that's partly because again it's a Sunday, so they'll try to get the games done earlier. Well, Sunday at 8:00 at night, people aren't going to be watching Norway versus Switzerland in France. They're going to be like, okay, well, Finland's already played or France has already played our game. Let's take a break.
We're also in an interesting spot in France right now where we're going to have games going on at the same time as the presidential election. The presidential election in France is May 7th, which is 2 days from now, or is that tomorrow?
That's 2 days, yeah. Well, almost a day for them.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And there's going to be a point where there's just like, there's going to be people at that game, but like it's going to be a weird atmosphere, and I bet they have accounted for that, and they know, okay, these games on May 7th probably going to be the less popular games. I wouldn't be surprised if I looked at the schedule right now and found that France actually isn't playing that day. Maybe
they are playing. They are playing the second game.
Play that day, okay. It's interesting though because I was thinking about this being I'm for those who don't know I'm into politics as much as I'm into hockey, and just seeing that and seeing how that kind of like event overlapped. It's interesting that's the way the scheduling worked out, and I'd be interested to see how the attendance is in Paris that day compared to the other days of the tournament.
Or next Friday, for example, it's a Friday night. Well, Czech Republic versus Slovenia and France versus Belarus. France is in the tournament. Obviously, it's their own place, but
it's not like they're drawing against a heavy, important competitor, right? They're drawing against Belarus.
But at the same time, that's exciting for French fans. They're like, oh, this is a chance for us to actually get a win.
For us.
All it takes is a win or two, and you just avoid relegation. And like again, France probably won't be playing for relegation, but like France versus Slovenia on May 15th, that's gonna be a fun game because I think they're gonna win that one. And then again, I gotta look and say, in Germany, that's where they got all the better games, but that's partly because they got Russia, Sweden, and United States, and that's
sometimes that's just how the group draw works. I do have to get going soon, but I think one thing we should do, I know we don't always make too many predictions on this, but do you have picks in terms of your gold, silver, bronze, and your two relegated teams? And I think our two relegated teams are the same because we have previously identified this pattern where it is just the same two damn teams over and over, sometimes taking a couple of years off of not getting relegated or not getting promoted, but it's pretty much the same teams. Who's your relegated teams?
My relegated teams are going to be Italy and Slovenia. Shocking.
And I will repeat that as well. And you know what? I would have said otherwise if Slovenia got Kopitar.
Okay.
And I know that sounds like a NHL-centric argument, but we all know how good Anze Kopitar is. We all know how good he looked against Slovakia and against, I believe, Belarus in the 2014 Olympics, and led his team to those wins, along with guys like Ziga Jeglic. They just don't. They don't have it. Not only do they not have Kopitar, they're missing a couple other solid players who are going to play a couple games, from what I know, but not the whole thing because they are dealing with injuries apparently.
Yep.
I don't know how many tournament games that they had, but they're dealing with injuries. So I think that's an easy pick. And Italy's one of those teams where it's like, I wonder if how much of their roster right now is, born in Thornhill, Ontario.
Oh no! Italy actually this year, like they brought a majority Italian team.
Oh, okay. So they went. That's really nice.
Like that was. It was a big.
I hope for their sake that they don't get relegated then, because that would be good incentive for them to I have nothing against import players. Like South Korea has a ton, and I love South Korea, and they'll be playing in this next year.
Oh, I got opinions about that team, but I'm not going to say.
But but I still like that. They're building in their domestic roster, and I hope they don't get relegated. I think they will.
I want to give my 3 teams that I think are going to go gold to bronze. I want to go with, I want to say my bronze last, but I'll go with gold, Canada. I just think that this team is just really strong again, and if their defense puts it together, they'll be good. Sweden's brought an incredible defensive core, probably the best defensive core we've seen at this tournament in 10 years. And the team I picked, I'd say a month ago to be the bronze team, is still the bronze team, Germany.
You think so? You think did they not do this a couple of years ago, or where they pulled out like 3rd or 4th, I believe?
Yeah, so that's the 2010 tournament, and that's why I think, you know what, this team is actually better than it was before. Right. They could. Oh man, if Edmonton was to magically lose, and if they were to get Draisaitl, oh, I would watch out.
There was a lot of Draisaitl jerseys in the crowd today too. I did notice there was a ton of Draisaitl jerseys. He's come a long way from putting up 192 points in 29 games in high school, along with Dominic Cahoon. Like he's a big player now. He's kind of Germany's Zemgus Jurgensens, you might think. Mm-hmm. This big young player who's made the NHL, and if the Ducks knock out the Oilers and they can get Draisaitl. I don't think it'll happen, but that would be cool. Just to check, Germany was.
They came 4th place that year. They lost Sweden 3-1.
Yeah, exactly.
And Dennis Andres was the MVP and the top goalie, and Christian Ehrhoff was the best defenseman. Ehrhoff, I believe, was injured today, but he will be here for the rest of the tournament.
Okay, so he is on the roster, right? Because I did notice he wasn't out there. Just to give my picks quickly, I'll go the other way around. I got Sweden beating Canada in the finals. I also have both of them winning their group. I have Sweden winning Group A, Canada winning Group B. My first round matchups are Sweden, Switzerland, Finland, USA, Canada, Denmark, Russia, Czech Republic. So I do think Denmark's in there with a chance to clinch over Germany and Slovakia. I would give them the upper hand, although Germany might prove me wrong, especially being the host city, wanting it more, which sounds super hockey cliche, but wanting it more, and apparently having a lot more talent than I expected. Mm-hmm. And then Russia's my bronze medal pick.
Okay.
Russia over US in the quarters. I know that's the 4 best teams, and I've just straight up picked them in the finals, but I worked through it. I think we're going to see Sweden win gold. I think William Nylander is going to have a better game than he did today.
Oh, I thought he was actually decent. I thought he was decent. He wasn't really noticeable.
Burns him, but you know.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. We're going to talk a lot more in this tournament. So
yeah, absolutely. Pretty much every day, honestly, until I start working, at least.
Cool. All right. Well, see you later.
Yep, absolutely. Have a good day.